Let me start by asking you this question.
Okay.
Because
I'm
my
ready.
platform is called Worthy. And I'd like for you to finish this sentence. I am worthy, but.
Wait, that's so juicy. Is that a trick question?
It's not a trick question. It's what comes to mind. What's the first thing that comes to mind when I say that?
I am worthy, but I think, like many people, that's a constant practice to actually believe that and not just say that, because I think it's really easy to say. But I think that feeling truly worthy in any moment, in any situation, work, life, relationships, whatever it may be, I think actually believing and knowing that you're worthy of what it is you desire, or of love, or insert in whatever the thing is you desire, I think that it's easier said than done.
How did you come to that realization?
No, it just came out of me.
He's making stuff up.
It's just coming out of me. I don't know.
But it's your truth. Like when you see, this is the thing. When it just comes out, that is your truth. So that is your truth. And I know for you, I know you're being funny here because we'll talk about the new Angie and all the new things you're working on.
I can start serious though.
Yeah, let's start with serious Angie. Which even as I say that, I have to laugh. But what you posted something recently, which kind of sort of is related to funny Angie, but also serious, about how for so long you lived a life based on wanting to please other people and keep other people happy. So tell me about that, and what for you was that turning point where you were like, I'm out, enough. I'm just going to do me now.
Yeah, I wish it was one moment. I wish it was, like in the movies, there's like, she's walking down the street and something happens, or, there's always like a juicy moment. And I don't think it was one moment for me. I think I'm in my early 30s. And I assume for many women listening, that's kind of when you start to shed a lot of shit that doesn't serve you anymore. You really start to come into your body, into your confidence, into your worth. And you really start to realize that life is long but short, right? And so am I showing up how I actually want to show up today? If life is short and I'm going to die one day, it sounds kind of morbid, but it's like, how do I actually want to spend each day? Am I going to be faking it to make other people happy, or am I going to do what actually makes me happy? And so I think starting to have those real conversations with myself is what elicits a lot of the clarity around how I want to show up, and not feeling like I'm 21 again and have to make sure that everybody likes me and be a people pleaser. And I think a lot of us go through that in childhood and then in early adult. It's like, let me make sure that nobody misunderstands me. Let me make sure that I don't say anything that could potentially, be the wrong thing to say, whatever that may be. And I think that you just get to a point where you're like, you can't live on eggshells. Right.
Yeah.
And then it's choosing that authenticity. I always say choosing the authenticity over the approval. That's really big for me. Is I want to fight for my authenticity so other people can too. I want to be an example of being unapologetically authentic. And that requires me, it's not caring what people think, but it's knowing that if that's what I stand for, I have to stand for that over, oh, does everybody and their grandma Susie like love this piece of content or love me, So it wasn't just one moment. I think I'm just really coming into it now, finally. And I think as I just keep doing the inner work and I guess growing up, it's going to keep being hopefully I hope it's just illuminated even more, so that like life is short. You might as well be your full self. You might as well own your weird. You might as well just do whatever is authentic.
Own your weird. That you definitely do. How would you, because I was thinking about, okay, how would I describe her? Like, because we're going to have to do like the show notes and say that Angie is and I was like, where do I even begin? Because you've had so many careers. So how do you describe yourself?
That's a great question. I'm like, do I love that? That's what everyone says on every single interview. It's really funny. I'm like, that's probably a good thing because I am very multi-passionate, Enneagram 7. I'm like, it's not like, oh, she's a makeup artist. Oh, she's a makeup designer, or what, I don't know, like a beauty designer. Like it is funny when you don't have just one clear, concrete job. So when you meet people, they're like, what do you do? I have an internal and external answer. My external answer on paper depending where I am, it's either entrepreneur, influencer, content creator, speaker, hype woman, like that's kind of how I see it, like content creator, influencer, podcaster, founder. I guess those are like the bio terms, the boring things that we write down on a piece of paper so people know who we are. But I think internally, I see myself as just one word, and that's always my intention, and I hope that's what it is. And it's just a creative. I just love being creative. I love being an entertainer. I like to make people laugh, obviously make them think. And so I see myself as a creative, and that's what I always want to be and hopefully honor that. But externally, when people ask that, I usually say like influencer, entrepreneur.
I laughed.
Right? I don't know. I don't even know the answer to that.
No, but I laughed as I asked you that question because I know your significant other.
Yeah.
He teaches people how to create their bias. I'm like, this would be really interesting to hear what she's going to say, given.
I know. I was like, Sandra knows that that's Clay's thing is, so what do you do? And we laugh about it all the time. He's on a trip right now teaching it at some workshop. And I'm over here like, I still don't have an answer. He's like, you make women laugh. I'm like, I know, but like, I need something really cool. And he's like, no, you make people laugh. Like, that is it. It's done. It's clean. You don't need to overthink it. I'm like, but what am I? And what do I do? And I don't know, maybe that's a gift, right? Maybe that's a good thing to constantly be reinventing yourself and you have a few different titles, but it can be funny when people ask, because I'm like, I don't know.
And you know what? Here's the thing is you do make people laugh. You make people laugh, but you also make people learn, which I think is such a beautiful combination. And I know recently, though, you've been wanting to step more into the make people laugh part of you. Tell me about that and what inspired you. Although you've always made people like I literally, this is not even a word. I literally have peed my pants, and no shame in that. Watching your stuff or even talking to you, and like you're just the funniest, like the things you come up. I'm like, how did on God's green earth did she think of that?
On God's green earth. Oh my gosh. First of all, I could die happy. If I die in 10 minutes, I just get attacked by a bird outside and I die. I'll just know like,
we're good.
Sandra said that she cried or she peed in her pants a little bit. That's success. Like I made her happy. Like, yeah. I don't know. Okay. I shouldn't say I don't know. I that's not a good answer, but I do know. I growing up, I was always the class clown. I was always weird. I was always wanting to make people laugh. And I think from a young age, I learned that if I made people laugh, they could be present and they could be happy and they could take a moment to not think about all the other stressors of life. I think that is why we love comedians and we love comedy shows and we love to laugh as humans. It's the ultimate medicine to get you to the present moment. It's one of the only medicines that will really get you into the present moment, because if you're crying, laughing, or you're just like having a deep belly laugh, you're probably not also worried about the other shit that's going on in your life, right? Like you're just not. And so for me, I take it very seriously, even though it's not serious, that it's a medicine. And from a young age, I've always known that I've liked to give it. But now over the last few years, it's become really clear to me that I want to explore it even more and just express it even more and to really, really be in it and ask myself, what would that look like to make that a full-time job? What would that look like to get into stand-up or do comedy shows and create more comedy content online and just asking myself that big, scary question, because at the end of the day, that would be the big dream. I mean, it's been the dream for a while, but I think I've always been afraid to acknowledge it. But like, yeah, of course, like a Netflix stand-up special like that, I could die happy. That's the dream. I just want to make people laugh. Kevin Hart, I love him. He had a video on his Instagram the other day that said that, and it gave me chills. He was like, all I want to do before I die is I just want to make people laugh. Like, that's what I'm here to do. And I was like, yeah, me and Kevin Hart.
You and Kevin Hart.
Not that I'm at his level, but yeah,
no,
I would love
but
to be
we're
one
putting
day.
it out into the universe that, hey, right? Netflix, holla.
He might be my friend one day. We'll see. But no, it was just a cool moment where it's like, for a while I was like, oh, that's not really a thing. But it's like, then you realize that it can be a full-time thing and it really can be enough in itself. That medicine in itself is enough. And I just, I did the whole teaching and masterminds and marketing, and I did it and it was fun and it was great. But it doesn't feel like it's my truth. It doesn't feel like it's really what I'm here to actually do. It feels like I can do it and I'm good at it, but it doesn't feel like it's like oh, this is what you're here to do, because this feels comfortable. It's easy for me to do that stuff. What feels kind of like scary, but also like sets my soul on fire is like the comedy stuff. So I'm in this interesting, like,
And what are you most afraid of when it comes to stepping into that dream?
That's a really good question. Oh my gosh, this is therapy right now. I don't think I've asked
You're
myself
welcome.
specifically.
I'll send an invoice after.
I'll Venmo you. I think like any human, it's wow, I think as humans we're afraid of what if it fails? What if what if it's not good enough? What if I'm not ready? Who am I to do that? And then what if it does go well? What if, it's like we're afraid of both, which is really messed up and crazy. Being a human, it's like we're afraid of success and we're afraid of failure. So I guess I'm experiencing a lot of what, ironically, I've taught about on my show and then in my content. It's like imposter syndrome and fear of judgment and comparisonitis and these things that are just normal. And especially when you're putting yourself out there in that capacity, it's being very vulnerable up there. You're not only public speaking, but you're trying to get an emotion out of people. And I think it's like that can feel you can feel naked. You can feel naked up there.
Yeah. Hey, for all our spells, just get naked up there. That'll give people a laugh, right?
Right? I'm just naked and afraid. I don't know. It's like, I don't know, but maybe
you watch that show? Do you watch Naked and Afraid?
I haven't, but I've heard of it.
Oh.
I know. I'm like naked and afraid, but it's like any dream, I'm sure you have felt this way. Any woman who's ambitious or guy who's ambitious, it's like you have that moment where sometimes the thing you really want to do actually scares you the most sometimes because it's so like, oh, this is the next step. I can feel it. It feels so in alignment, but like, oh my gosh. And it kind of freaks you out. So you want to just go to what's comfortable because you're like, oh, that works. I can do that. But then you're like, ah. So I'm in that interesting dance right now.
So this is Angie, interesting dance, new thing. But what did Angie, who is comfortable, do before? Because you've had a really successful, like you're extremely successful, built a successful business, teaching, all kinds of things. What did you do before and how did you get into doing that?
Yeah. So in college, I was teaching nutrition and wellness, and I was 19 years old. This was before Instagram was big or anything like that. There was Facebook. And I decided to start sharing my wellness and fitness tips on a blog. So it all started with a wellness blog. And then over time.
What was the blog called?
It was just my name, Angie Lee Health.
That was original.
I know, right? Angie Lee Health. And so I did that for a while, quit college because I was like, okay, I don't want to get out and be a nutritionist. I want to see if I can turn this blog thing into a business. And I was making $20 here and there. It wasn't profitable at all. But I was like, you know what? I'm young. I might as well try. I feel like I'm unemployable. I feel like I need to work for myself. Let me figure this out. So I stayed really consistent with that, built an online fitness business and did that for a few years until about, six-ish years in, I started getting emails from women who were asking me about building brand and marketing and showing up on social and how did I build my website and create my programs and work with brands and basically all the things I just taught myself how to do. And so I slowly started teaching that a little bit on the side, one-on-one, and then it became group programs and then it became passive courses. So it all organically started from me starting this wellness blog, dropping out of college, and then it transitioned into the marketing coaching. And in that, just loved also creating content and working with brands as an influencer. So it's all kind of been this crazy, interesting ride of those all blending together, and then started the podcast, got into speaking, then started Soul with my brother, our wellness line. So that's kind of like the 13-year story. And now here I am.
Your life in 1 minute.
Right? That's like the Cliff Notes. And now here I am. I'm like, I think I want to screw it all and just be a comedian. So this is the show. This is my life. So, but I loved it. It was really, I loved both of them. I love health and wellness. I still love marketing. I mean, there's still huge passions of mine and things that I still want to support with. But yeah, none of it was super planned out. It was always like, okay, what's the next thing that feels aligned?
Did you have, like, in your family, did you have examples of entrepreneurship, or like what was it, something that was like a natural thing for you that, oh yeah, I could build my own business?
Yeah, definitely. My dad didn't even finish high school. So I saw my dad start from nothing and create businesses. And growing up, I think I always saw that, like, oh, my dad was able to figure it out and he was able to put the pieces together. And grew up really poor and didn't have anything and was able to start these businesses. And so I kind of saw him on the entrepreneurial roller coaster as a child, making a lot, not making a lot, and coming up with this idea and then that idea. So I kind of grew up thinking that's kind of normal to to work for yourself. So I guess, yeah, from him. And then quickly I realized this was about, well, I was 19, 20. So yeah, about 12, 13 years ago, I realized that I didn't feel like I was meant to be in the corporate structure. I had tried a few side corporate jobs and it just never felt like what I was here to do. And so there was always just this knowing ever since a young age of, I am going to probably have to work for myself because I'm stubborn, because of my ADD, because of my creativity that doesn't make sense sometimes to a corporation. Like this is just kind of felt like it was my only option, which sounds kind of sad, but I was like, I have to figure out how to make this work. I have to figure this out. So, yeah.
And so you talked about a business that you built with your brother. Tell me about that business. What is it? Why did you build it?
Yeah, 4.5 years ago. Wow, it's been 4.5 years. 4.5 years ago, my brother and I were sitting in my kitchen in LA, and I had built my audience. I had a decent sized audience then. Mike had an audience. He was a professional athlete. He was in a lot of pain. He started taking CBD and he really loved it for inflammation, anxiety, pain, all of that. I started taking it for anxiety, helping me sleep, and I loved it. And one day we were sitting there and he's like, how about we turn this into a business? And I was like, all right, let's do it. And I'm like the big dreamer. I'm the visionary and Mike's more of like the tactical CEO. So he's like, okay, how are we actually going to do this? And I was like, it doesn't matter. Let's just go. Like he's practical. I'm not practical. So we came together and he's like, okay, how much do you have saved up? Could we do this? So we put in a little bit of both of our own money and we were like, you know what? If we lose it, we lose it. It's not too much, but like it's enough where it's going to help us start. But if we lose it, it's not a big deal. We won't die. Should we do this? And he was like, all right, let's start. So we literally, I mean, gosh, Mike's been the CEO for the last few years. He's the one who's really grown it, especially on the back end. But man, we started without understanding cannabis. We didn't know e-commerce. We had only a few customers. We were shipping things out of our living room. I was putting every single sticker on. Like that was me putting the tape on, the stickers and all of it, printing it out, going to FedEx. I mean, it was crazy. It was a headache, but it was what was necessary. It was just the grassroots of we have no idea what we're doing, but let's just see if we can make some money from it. And we stayed really consistent. And now it's grown to a really large business and we have a factory and a warehouse and a team of 20 people. And it's a whole thing now. But it literally started with one day, Mike kind of kidding around. He was joking. And I was like, no, let's actually make this a business. And I was in a position where I was doing a lot of courses and I was trading time for money in service. And I think in the beginning, service-based things can be great, but I always knew I wanted a physical product. I love the idea of someone touching my product, seeing it on their kitchen table. And like, I love that. Now, physical products obviously come with a larger overhead, a lot more headaches. You need a team. Mike's wanted to kill me like 1,800 times. Like it's definitely a bigger thing. So I don't suggest people start with that, but I love physical products. I love physical wellness things. So I always knew I wanted it. We just weren't sure what it would be. So when the opportunity came that we saw this thing that we loved and we saw that it was a good time to get into that industry, we realized like we might as well try. We might as well see where it goes. So, and now hopefully we'll be selling it in the next year or two. So it's been a wild ride with our little baby Soul.
Why did you call it Soul?
Well, I wanted it to be called, this is a good question. No one's ever asked me that. I wanted it to be called Happy, HAPPI. I wanted it to be called like Joy. I remember I wanted the branding to be like all yellow, like a little sunshine, or Daily RX. I wanted to call it. All of those were either taken, trademarked. So we're on a walk one day and we're on a walk. I'll remember exactly where we were outside his house in LA. And he's like, you know, we can't even think of a name. What are we going to do? We need to launch this soon. We don't have a name. All of the names you want are taken. I can't think of any. I'm like, how do we want people to feel when they take it? He's like, I just want them to like feel it in their soul, just feel good. And I was like, Soul, let's just call it Soul. So to be honest, it wasn't like we wanted that name forever. It was like, we were on the last day of like brainstorming and he was like, dude, if we don't come up with something soon, like we're going to be behind. So that was it.
Okay, I honestly thought, and then seeing the branding as well, because the branding's so beautiful, and I know it's evolved over time. I genuinely am a stalker. I no shame
for sure.
Like I have my T-shirt. I stalk Angie.
You're gonna be in my bushes tomorrow.
I'm in the bushes all the time.
Oh, I love it. I'm like, yay, come stalk us and hang out. It's not stalking if I want you to come. I'm like,
But
okay.
it's been so fun watching the evolution of the brand. Now, for anybody who, not everybody knows about CBD and what are the benefits? Why were you seeing such benefits? Why was Mike seeing such benefits? And then how did you then decide, okay, these are the forms? Because I'm sure you could have done many different things around CBD. What are the different types of products that you have?
Yeah. So CBD is the non-hallucinogenic form of cannabis. So when people hear of CBD, they think, oh, well, I get high. No, that's THC. So the cannabis plant has two sides to it. It has a THC side and a CBD side. What's cool about CBD is you're extracting all of the medicinal benefits of cannabis, which can help with inflammation, joint pain, sleep. I mean, there's people who use cannabis for seizures. I mean, you look it up, look up the benefits of cannabis, and people are using it for many different things for natural healing. It's incredible. It's a pretty incredible plant. It's probably why the government doesn't want it to be legalized. That's another episode for another day.
Well,
right?
I live in a country where it's legal, so there you go.
If it was legal, then the pharmaceutical companies wouldn't be making as much. But anyways, it is what it is. So that's usually what people love about it. And then you don't get high from it. So you can take it during the day at work. You can take it whenever you want. You're not going to hallucinate. You're not going to see flying monkeys or whatever else would happen if you're smoking some weed. So it is not weed. I know a lot of people assume that. So what's great about it is it's completely safe. There's a zero toxicity level. You could drink an entire bottle of our tincture and or eat a whole thing of our gummies. And yes, you might get a little bit of sugar from eating that many gummies, but you're not going to die. So we felt really safe with it. And I started loving it just for even sleeping at nighttime. That's when I love CBD the most. It just really helps me to get a deep sleep. And then Mike, being in so much pain as an athlete, he didn't want to be on more medication. And so he was trying to find things that could naturally help his joint pain, his physical pain, his headaches. And so for Mike, he takes it, he does topically, like our actual lotion he'll put on his body. A lot of athletes and very active people love that. I love our gummies. And then we also have tinctures. So tinctures are technically the most potent. Under the tongue, you put a little tincture, you swallow it. But what is our most popular, because of the delivery method, it's delicious, is our gummies. That is by far our biggest product. People love it. They love the taste. Adherence goes up when things taste good. So we realized, you know what? Yes, there's a little bit of sugar in there, but we wanted it to be something that people actually can stay consistent with. So yeah, it's funny because originally I was like, I don't want to do gummies. I just want to do tinctures and capsules and pain cream. But we put out one gummy and then it just like exploded. And now we literally are niching down into wellness never tasted so good. And our niche now is the best tasting CBD gummies on the planet. So there really is no other CBD brand with delicious gummies. A lot of them have gummies, but they taste like grass. They taste like cat's poop and grass. So it's not that fun to take. So we've really perfected, Mike and the team have really perfected the research and development that's necessary to make the gummies taste really good. So yeah, we're kind of known now for gummies, but we also do have tinctures and capsules that can help you with focus, sleep, anxiety, joint pain, all of that stuff too.
So you talked about Mike and how for him, it was about managing pain. But I know on social media, you've shared a lot about how you use it to help you you talked about having ADD. How has it helped you? Tell me about your ADD and when were you diagnosed? And is it something that has been a challenge for you to manage?
Oh yeah. I go through seasons with it where it's totally fine and it's great. I'm in a season now where it's been really, really bad, and I can correlate that to just stress or not sleeping well or traveling or other things. But what I love about CBD is it helps to basically calm down your central nervous system. So if you are somebody like me who has a racing brain, which many of us do, it's hard to not feel anxious because of that. So you have this really fast brain, which is great for creativity and being weird. And like you said, how is weird coming out of me? That's probably where it's coming from. But also then I get anxiety. So what's great about CBD is it can really help with the anxiety from that, which will then calm you down to help you focus. Or we have what's called nootropics, and they're these natural focus capsules, I'll call them, which can really help with your focus. They have adaptogens like ginseng and green tea and things like that to help you with your focus, because I've chosen not to be on medication for ADHD. So it's kind of just natural alternatives if people also are more called to the natural route. But yeah, I was diagnosed unofficially. My mom always knew. She just never wanted to tell me until one day I came home from school and I'm like, something's going on. Like, I feel like all the other kids can sit for 8 hours. I need to go run around. Like, I have way more energy. I'm not able to complete the tasks as easy. The tests were harder. My comprehension wasn't as good for the books. So I just kind of always knew something was a little off and different. But I also felt like I was, like had this extra creativity and energy than other people. So it almost felt like half of it was really sucky and unfair. And the other half was like, what? Whoa, this is really cool if I use it to my advantage and see it as a superpower. So it's been this interesting dance of like not hating it about myself, but also knowing when I need to work on it and get help and outsource. And, I think the biggest place where it shows up in full honesty is my relationships. Like with Clay, it's like, he's not ADD. And so it will drive him crazy. And we're now figuring out systems of like, why didn't you do it that way? Or why did you do that? Because my brain's just very different. And so having help in our lives to keep it all organized has really been the biggest thing because, it drives his brain a little crazy. But I went to the Amen Clinic. When was that? Beginning of 2020, 2019. So about 2-3 years ago, I went to the Amen Clinic. And that was like my official diagnosis, I guess you could say. I've always known, and I'm sure I could walk into any therapist before that and they would be like, yeah, you have it. Duh, you're explaining it. But I wanted to actually see it on my brain scan. So I did that brain scan and then, it came up where my prefrontal cortex, if it's not interested in something, it just shuts down. But when it's very interested in something, one of the benefits of a neurodiverse brain or ADD is what's called hyperfocus. And this hyperfocus is this obsession with things that we are really good at or things that we find interesting. So this is why you'll see this common in like artists or in certain things, because if they love something, they're going to go all in and they're just going to be obsessed. But like I said, that can then affect your personal life when you're not focusing on anything else. You can't be like, that's all I think about and do. And then you're like, oh yeah, I got to do the dishes too. So it's a dance. It's not necessarily the most fun thing in the world, but it's my life. So.
And why do you think your mom didn't tell you? If she suspected or she knew, then why do you think she kept that from you?
Yeah, I'm really grateful that she didn't. And I think I'll do the same with my future kids. I think she didn't want to put me in a box. She didn't want to label me at such a young age. And I think, at 30 was when I feel like I really could take it in and get that brain scan and be like, okay, this is something I have. And I'm a confident adult. I feel like I can take this information and work with it and learn how I can be better. But if you tell an 8-year-old, they're like, cool, are you basically telling me I'm broken? Like, I don't know. What's the benefit of telling your 8-year-old kid, like, oh, your brain's different than the other kids. So it's, you can't pay attention and they can. Like, I think that could really hurt a kid. I think it's almost like just kind of in so many ways, she would basically be like, oh, well, maybe for you to learn, you need to like first run outside, right? Like maybe you need to get your energy out. And she would kind of just like focus on the positives of it versus saying like, this is your problem. This is, the diagnosis. And I think that was such a gift to not be put in a box. And that's something now that I love to help other women with. It's like, sometimes these labels and stuff can really actually make it worse because then your brain is like telling yourself every day, oh, I'm broken. Oh, I have a problem. And then it's just exacerbating it. So I didn't know. I just thought I have more energy. And these kids, for some reason, can sit for 8 hours and stare at a screen and focus. Like I didn't really know what was going on. So I don't know. That's my takes. There are parents listening that I'm sure are like, no, you got to tell your kids right away. And I don't know. I think you got to weigh out what's the benefit of that, Yeah. In the school system, here's the problem. I argue it's not the kids' problem. It's the school system. It's not designed for the neurodivergent brain. It's designed for a 5 to 8-year-old or however long you're in like traditional schooling is to sit in the classroom 8 hours a day, 8 to 9 hours a day. That's a long time. Start super early. You don't have many physical breaks other than maybe a recess or a lunch or, like a gym class, but that's not very long. You're supposed to sit down all day and auditorily learn or visually with this teacher. And it's the same thing every day. Like it's like prison for an ADD kid. Yeah. I would come home and be like, Mom, get me out of jail. She'd be like, what are you talking about? I'm like, school is jail.
But even when you think about it, even for a kid who's not neurodivergent,
right?
They're long days, and for just sitting. And as you said, like even if a kid is not neurodivergent, we all learn differently, right? And I feel like we're cramming kids into. I know now we're going off on a tangent here, but we're cramming like 30 kids into a classroom. with this one, bless her heart or bless his heart, teacher who's expected to teach these kids who all have different learning styles.
Right.
It just, yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Because I'm very kinesthetic with my learning. So I need to actually physically do it or touch it. But that doesn't work in a lot of classrooms. The teacher's just expecting that every kid learns auditorily. So it's just, you're right. Like, I feel bad. The teachers are doing their best, but it's like, now I can see things from a perspective of, I don't know. I mean, I might homeschool. I don't know what I'll do now, because it's almost like, how do I get them to learn and adapt and socialize, but also not feel like they're put in a box or there's something wrong with them? Because just because society says that this brain is neurodivergent, what if it's actually not a bad thing? Just because the government or society is saying it is, it's almost like, well, maybe your kid's fine. Maybe they just need more exercise. Yeah. Like, when I exercised, then my focus would go up. So it's like, this wasn't, I don't know. I'm very passionate about I'm very passionate about how kids are schooled, because my experience was so bad that I'm like, how can we change the system? How can we update it? It's so outdated. How can we make it more conducive to all different types of brains?
And even who gets to decide what, air quotes, normal is? Right? Like, who's to say what normal is, right?
I don't know, right?
Like, so I know that. Yeah, who knows, right? Who is normal? We want to meet that one person. Right. I know that part of the work that you do now, maybe not, correct me, is helping other entrepreneurs who have realized that they're neurodivergent in some way figure out how to work. Is that something that you do now?
Yeah, I mean, I recorded a few episodes on it just to let it off my chest. I had no intention of it becoming a thing. So I put them out, and then I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, I'm kind of nervous. I'm kind of embarrassed. Like, I shared something that's like wrong with me, but whatever. I don't care. Let's see what happens. And then my inbox was crazy. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is my highest performing content, my most downloaded episode in like 5 years, one of the most highest downloaded. And I'm like, what is going on? And it was just full of, I have it. I want to learn more about it. My kids have it. I've never felt so seen. I was like, wow, that is so cool that by sharing that vulnerability, it created such connection with other women who are struggling with it. So yeah, I mean, in these episodes, I break down all the little natural life hacks that I've done to work with it, but I don't have like one answer for it. I think it's a constant game of, how can I create more structure and systems and boundaries? And it's why I eat the way I do and move the way I do. It's just so important for your brain health and prioritizing sleep. And so, yeah, I think if you're an entrepreneur with it, you have to take the superpowers of it and really illuminate those and run with it. And then the times where you're like, this is so frustrating, that's when you have to hire help as soon as you can, even if it's a part-time VA, really getting those people who can integrate and organize things while you are kind of, as Chalene Johnson will say, like, you're, in the visionary or the creative or in the spacey role. And I think also realizing that you're not alone. There's so many successful people who have it. That was really helpful for me, because I felt like I wasn't broken, knowing that Chalene and many, many women have it. Marie Forleo has mentioned she has it. I mean, there's so many women entrepreneurs who do have it. And especially with women, supposedly it doesn't go diagnosed as much, because it's just like, I don't know, it's not as easy to diagnose in women than men. It's really interesting. So a lot of times women live their whole life until one day they're like, what is going on? I feel different. My brain feels different. So yeah, then I just started to see the benefits of it and seeing who else had it. So I realized I wasn't alone. But honestly, if you do have ADHD, entrepreneurship is probably the best job for you if you're going to have a job. Yeah, because there's not many that will put up with some of our shit. I'm going to be honest. It's right. Like, oh, sorry. I'm not, because I decided to go to the zoo instead. It's like, that was more interesting. There's not many jobs that are going to put up with that. Not.
So you, as we talked about at the top, are multi-passionate. So I know you talked about, are you still in the coaching space, or is that something that you feel like you're done with that now?
Yeah, no, I haven't done coaching in many, many years. I would say the influencer space, but coaching, no, I haven't coached someone in so long. I would die if I had to coach someone. I would not know what to say or do. I used to. Obviously, that was kind of how it started with health and wellness and then marketing, but individual and or group coaching, no. No, definitely not now. But I think for some people, it's a really good fit. But yeah.
And so now with you saying that, was that always the plan when you were building Soul, that you would exit it, or is this a new development for you and your brother?
Yeah. Oh, to sell Soul?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant to leave coaching. I was like, yeah, because what's interesting is I took a lot of the funds that I made from coaching to put into Soul. And I always kind of knew like, I don't want to be in coaching long-term. I did not love it. So I liked it in the beginning, but then I was like, oh, this is not a good fit for me. So I
Why was it not a good fit for you? Sorry to interrupt. Why was it not a good fit?
Yeah, I think it's being a teacher versus being a coach versus being an entertainer versus being an influencer. They're all very, very different. And I think people think they're all similar. And it's like, no, my personality type wants to create content and entertain people. I don't want to be on a Zoom call talking to Susan about her problems. Like that's not, I have no desire or ambition to do that. I want to love her and serve her in a different way. I'm just keeping it real. So I think for me and my energy, and I mean, gosh, we could go down different personality types, whatnot. It was so draining for me. Like it was a very low energy job for me. It made a lot, but I was like so upset. At the end of the day, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm just trading time for money. And it was so draining for my personality type. And if you're listening to this and that's you, you'll feel that. But then there's some people I know. I have friends who love being coaches. There is nothing that lights them up more. They are like, I can't wait to talk to Susie Smith on this Zoom. Like we're going to go deep. They're maybe more introverted. They just like love it. They're like, I don't want to go create a funny reel. I want to go get on this call or in person. I want to coach someone through something. Clay is like that. He's very good at coaching people. He's very good at holding space for them, consulting. And I'm kind of like, you guys want to hear some jokes? And then I'm going to leave. Like I have no desire to like create that intimacy of like transformation there. So I do think it's healthy for everyone to try out if you think it might be for you, but you won't know till you're in it. So I kind of started to realize that's how I felt about it. And then I was like, wow, what I really want to be as an influencer. I just want to be paid to create funny or interesting content at the time. I just thought interesting content. I don't want to have to coach people. So we took a lot of those funds, put it into Soul. And yeah, from the beginning, we knew we always were building it to sell. We always knew that just because of the nature of the industry that we're in. Unfortunately, there's so many regulations. It's such a headache, everything with ads. And I mean, it's a bummer, but we really want to be able to sell that and then maybe go into something else or who knows. But yeah, we always knew like we are building this to sell it. It was never like, oh, let's do this forever. It was like, let's like go ham for 5 years, cash out, and then go into something that maybe doesn't have as many regulations.
What's that experience been like working with your brother? Had you worked together before?
Well, we have had some crash and burns. I've always kind of been the dreamer and I'm like, ooh, I have a business idea. Some of them did not work. We had a food distribution business in Chicago. I thought it was a genius idea, which at the time it was. And if we would have had the systems and the desire to be in the food industry, which is quite possibly one of the worst industries to be in, because, it's like, you just be ready to be in debt if you want to be in the food industry. But I thought it was genius. I was about 20 at the time. And I was like, Mike, there should be healthy meals delivered to people's doorsteps. That is genius. Why does this not exist? This is before like HelloFresh and stuff. So he was like, okay, so we rented out this space. We rented out a kitchen in Chicago. We hired a chef, no experience in the food industry at all. No, but like nobody we knew was even worked at a restaurant, right? Not knowing that like, oh, if you buy pounds of salmon and no one buys it, like there you go. It's spoiled. It's gone. Like it's the worst industry to be in. So we went into that. We did that. Mike put some money into it at the time and it did not obviously do well. So RIP Thrive Meals. So we've like had little things like that where we would start it because I would be like, oh, this is really great. I would get really excited. Mike would jump on board and then it would either kind of make some money or it would crash and burn. But Soul was the first one where he was like, oh, wow, this is working. This is becoming a thing. So yeah, I mean, it is interesting. We're polar opposites. He's definitely more logical and he is the CEO of the business. I think a lot of people think I am, which is hysterical. So they'll DM me and they're like, are you the CEO? I'm like, you think I'm looking at spreadsheets all day? Girl, no. Okay. Thank you though. Thank you. I'm glad I look that smart. But so he does more of that. And then I do creative marketing. I assist with that, community building, all of that kind of stuff. But he's in the day-to-day of hiring, firing, systems, organization, running the ads team. He does all of that. So I have to give him credit where it's due.
And so
it's funny when people think it's me. I'm like, no.
But you are smart. Hang on.
Yeah, but I'm not that kind of smart.
No. You're different smart. It's just a different smart. Because I'm sure if Soul relied on Mike, I mean, I'm sure he's a lovely guy. I've never met him. He looks lovely on Instagram, but I don't think he's anywhere near as creative as you are. And I feel like that comes through in the personality of the brand is so much you. And I love that. Tell me about actually your creative process, not necessarily for Soul, but for your social media, because you see, I'm even laughing just thinking of some of the things I've seen on your social. Like, I'm like, what kind of mind thought up this skit? Like,
Oh my God, I love you. You're so funny. Okay, this is the creative process. I'm like, there isn't one. No. The creative process is actually a lot of space, a lot of, I usually get the hit of the idea. So I'll come up with like a concept for, let's say it's like if I'm doing a funny reel or maybe one that's a little bit more like teaching.
One of my favorites was,
I'm like, it depends what type of content. That depends on the
okay,
project.
wait, let me tell you one of my favorites. So tell me about this. Because he had a recurring role, was the Clubhouse bro.
Okay, Clubhouse Brian. So here's what happens. I see something and I'm like, I got to make fun of it. Like that's a comedian. We have these like contact lenses in that like, we can't not see life as a skit. Like life is hilarious. Like we're rolling around in this ball. We're all taking it so seriously. Like what's going on, So I see things already through this like weird filter. It's like kind of messed up. And I like think everything's funny. I think I like a lot of self-deprecation. And so I'm seeing this guy basically who's like in this clubhouse room, or I'm not seeing him, but I'm hearing him and he's like, yeah, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to make fun of him. Like, this is great. Like, you know what I mean? So then usually a lot of it's writing. I do a lot of script writing. So I get out a script and I start writing the concept. I'm like, is this something? And then I start working with the script. And then Clay, a lot of times will come in and help me clean up the script just because he's so amazing with script writing, comedy writing. So he's my supportive writer. So then we'll kind of like, I'll say like, hey, this is at like 80%. Can you help me like clean it up, punch it up? So then he like punched it up a little bit. And then I'm like, I like think of what this guy would do. It's almost like embodying an identity. I'm like, okay, what would he say? Like, what would he look like? What would his voice sound like? It's like acting almost. You're just like embodying this character. I love being different characters. And so then I get the wig, I have the script, and then I'll like quickly memorize it. Or if it's shortcuts, I don't have to. I just read it, film it, and then I blend it together. So that's usually the process is concept, idea. What is like is there a punchline with it? What is like the end going to be like what's the point of it? And then I start writing, the detailed script, the lines of it, and then some quick editing, put some jump cuts in. And that's the process.
How much time do you spend? Like, do you actually allocate a time like every week to say, this is my time where I'm going to be creative and focus on creating content for socials?
It's interesting. Today I'm actually going to make one. So you'll see it up. Hopefully tonight it'll be done. And it's, I'm making fun of bro podcasters. So I'm going to be like, kind of like Brian again. And I'm like, yeah, tell me about that moment of your life. Like, yeah. Like just when guys have like motivational podcasts and they all say the same, and they're like being super douchey. So I'm going to be that. So it'll probably take me, I already have this down in my notepad. It's in my notes. In my phone, I have all my different scripts. And I have lists of just like all the crazy characters, all the scripts. And while I'm on a walk, that's when I like punch it up and I'll like listen to like inspiring or meditative music. And I'll be like, like I'll like get in the character, and I'll start typing up the notes. So I already have that done. I got to put the wig on, get it all kind of set up. Honestly, filming will probably take me an hour, editing 30 minutes. So like 2 hours, maybe. Yeah. 2 hours.
Do you film it yourself? Like, how do you film it?
Yeah. I'll just like set up my phone.
Like literally on your phone?
Yeah. Just like on my iPhone, I'll just like click self-record and then I'll just, like this one, I'll have a headset on. I'll have my like guy wig on with my mustache and I'll just like be going back and forth pretending I'm the bros. So that one will be super quick because I already know what the character's like. I have roughly some of the lines. They're quick. They're punchy. So there's like 12 lines total. It's short. It's gonna be 15 to 30 seconds. And I'm going to do a few part series. So like part 1, bros podcasting, and I'll do a part 2. So sometimes what I do want to get better at, what I need to get better at now that I want to take comedy more seriously and really start getting paid to do a lot more of these videos with brands is batching. So doing like 6 at once and spending like 6 hours all day getting a bunch of them done. And then I can drip release them out on TikTok and Reels for the next month or 2. So that's really the next level that I need to work on.
So right now, are you just making them on the fly?
Yeah, I don't batch. I know. Every entrepreneur you meet batch content. I don't batch content. I've never batched content. I know that and I know I should. I don't know. My brain like loves to do it when it's like in the moment of like, this is the creative hit, but I need to keep with that momentum then and do more, because then what will happen is the next day I'm doing it again. And it's more work than I need to be doing. So Clay yesterday was like, you need to start batching like your funny reels days, like have that be all like Monday, Tuesdays or whatever. And then you're done for the week and then doing it that way. But I haven't done that as much as I know some people do that.
I mean, I'm amazed that you're literally doing them all, because the volume of content that you produce a lot of stuff. So I'm truly like in awe that you're doing it on the fly. I'm an on the fly girl. I literally don't know how to batch. Like I have to be.
Oh yeah. So you're the same.
Inspired.
Yeah. I'm like, you're the same.
I'm like,
yeah.
I can't think ahead.
Yeah.
Angie, I could literally talk to you forever and ever. But I know you got stuff to do. You got reels to create. If you could just real quick, because you've grown your Instagram following, your social media following so well. If someone's just starting out as an entrepreneur, where would you tell someone to start? I know I'm taking you back to what you used to teach back in the day. Yeah. But where would someone start, or what's your suggestion for how to start to grow a social media following?
Yeah, this is a great question. Again, I'm not going to give you a sexy 5-step process because I don't think there is one anymore. Here's real deal what I think. Like if we're hanging out, we're all having some tea and you're like, what's the honest truth? Here's the honest truth.
In my baby grandmama.
Yeah, we got to get a picture. It's so cute. Baby grandma's hanging out. I think obviously, number one, insane consistency. Like the algorithm loves it. Your people love it. You got to be posting at least once a day. Like it just is what it is. It's not fun. Yes, it's a machine. We deserve breaks from it. I've taken a lot of breaks in the last few months, but if you're in a stage of growth, you have to be in that consistent post every day. And then what I call the owning your weird radical authenticity. And what this looks like is you're not trying to follow all the trends. You're not trying to look like anyone else in your niche. Because I think what's going on is one thing I don't like about the TikTok phenomenon is that, here, play this song over your face. And then you do the same little cheesy dance, or you do the same thing. And then while we're all just trying to look like each other and be each other, when in reality, what gets somebody to stop their scroll is somebody who's different. And if I do write a book, it's going to be called Own Your Weird. And it's going to be about this concept of authenticity and just knowing that like you get to be different. And when you are different, that's actually what makes you stand out in a crowded industry, whether it's coaching or wellness or network marketing, whatever it may be. So I actually think that the best thing to do is say, how can I consistently be different? How can I consistently create content that will get people to think, feel a certain emotion, and be ruthlessly authentic to the point where sometimes I'm like, I'm a little embarrassed to post this. Oh, okay, I'll post it. Like that's how I know it's on something. Cause I'm like, but this is me. Like I'm in a poop costume. All right, I'm just going to post it. Like you got to almost go through the filter of like, you just don't care anymore. And that's what ends up doing better, because we want to see someone be who they fully are. And your weird's going to look different than my weird, than the person listening. Weird is whatever that magic sauce is that you have that I don't, that we all have. So to me, it's like, whatever that is, double down on it, like literally double down on it, put a highlighter on it and be that even more online, because people want to see that. So if it's ADD, if it's making fun of whatever, my stuff in my skits, like whatever is your flavor of weird, double down on it. Like that's actually what's going to get people to stop their scroll. So I think we just live too much in like the trend culture right now. Like, if I post this little dancing TikTok, then people will like it. It's like, I don't know. That's why I don't like a lot of those trainings that are like on Tuesdays post this and on Wednesdays post this. It's like, we're at the point now with social and with creative that the people that are growing, it's like, it's either entertaining, evokes some sort of emotion, or it's educational. It's one of those three. And I put every single piece of content through that filter. Is this either evoking some sort of emotion, connecting with them through storytelling? Is it, educating them on something, giving them a tip, or is it evoking laughter? Is it making them laugh? Is it entertainment? If it's all of those three, awesome. If it's one of the three, awesome. But if not, you probably don't post it. So I think you just have to kind of know, like, would another human find this valuable in a sense, So yeah, that's why it's like a full-time job. It's a lot. It's a lot of thinking that goes through it. Right.
Yeah,
so
it really is.
I would say, own your weird, be different. Don't be afraid to be different.
As I was listening to you, I was remembering a lesson that I learned from Clay, where he's like, you got to share something that makes them learn, that makes them laugh, and then makes them take action.
Ooh, He's copying me. You got to interview him next and see what
I'll interview him next and ask him. Yeah, he can tell us he can help us all create an intro, because I still struggle when people ask me, well, tell me who you are. And I'm like,
the perfect intro. He'll get you. Yeah, he'll help with it. That's like his thing.
Angie, where can people find all of the amazingness that is Angie? I say that not even just to blow smoke up your, you know what, but I literally, like, if you don't laugh at something she's posted in a week, you don't have a sense of humor. like, there's a number of times I've literally been like, did she just say that?
You're like, okay, she's talking about butts again. All right. You're like, cool. She's butt sunning outside. Oh man, I would love for you guys to come laugh with me. Laughter is ultimately the best medicine that we all need. So you can come say hi on Instagram at Angie Lee Show, or my podcast, Angie Lee Show, on there too. So come say hi and check us out, mysoulcbd.com, to grab some soul.
Last question. You started by finishing a sentence, so let's end with finishing a sentence. I am.
Oh gosh, that's a big one. Oh gosh, I am. Oh God. Oh, I am. Should I say weird, just to keep on this topic of own your weird? I am weird. I am weird. We're gonna go with that.
You are weird. You are amazing. I am so grateful. So grateful to call you a friend. So grateful for my baby grandma mug.
Oh, I love it.
I love you.
Thank you so much. This was so awesome.
I really, truly am so grateful for you. Okay, serious moment, right? I know you're weird. I know you're funny and all of that, but I'm so grateful that you show up as you. And I think that for me, you know, like, there's some people that you see on social media, and who they are on social media is very different than who they are in real life. And I can legitimately say, I know you. I've met you many times, and who you are is just who you are. And that is the most beautiful thing, just the way you show up. And you are someone who has such a big heart, like such a big heart. And I truly am so grateful to be able to DM you and have you reply to my DMs.
That's so sweet. That's like the greatest gift to hear that, because that's all I want to do. And I just love that. I'm so grateful for you. Oh, and you just
can't wait.
This was probably one of my favorite interviews, because you asked real questions, and like, you asked what you really wanted to know. And like, I think that I wish more people did that, because they like ask what they think they should ask instead of like what they really want to know.
I just wanted to know all about
good.
your weird and your crazy. And I truly cannot wait. And we're putting this out together into the universe one day for me to be able to say, oh my gosh, you guys, like, let's all gather and get popcorn and watch Angie Lee's on Netflix. Like, for real. The world needs...
Oh my gosh, that was so cute. You just got me so excited. Grab your popcorn.
I know. I'll be sitting there and then like...
Grab your diaper. You grab your diaper, because it sounds like you're peeing over there, Sandra. You're
I need my Depends and my popcorn.
Listen, maybe my special will be called Depends and Popcorn.
You need to get them to be your sponsor.
Oh, you're like being my cheerleader right now. And for that, I'm so grateful, because you know this, you're a cheerleader for other people. It's like, when you're the cheerleader for others, sometimes you need it yourself, and people don't realize you still do. And I'm like, yeah, I need someone to hype me up, because I'm nervous and I have fears too still, you know?
No, do it. Please step in. I know it's a big dream. Step into it, because the world needs more people like you who can make us laugh, because we all want to laugh, but also who can be just themselves. Like, there's so many people who are walking around with masks on, trying, like you said, we're all doing the same reels and whatever, because we're trying to be like everybody else and be sheep. And so when there's someone who is willing to step outside of what is norm, I sent you a DM, didn't I, about this, where I said, you allowing yourself to be vulnerable and to share who you truly are inspires us. Like, I watch you being, it gives me that, oh, maybe I could do that too, right? It inspires me to, maybe I could try that too. So keep doing it. We need you. Angie, let me let you go, because I know you're super busy. And thank you. Thank you so much for gifting me your time.
Oh, you're amazing. We'll chat soon.
Take care.